Half of the data centers big tech promised for 2026 aren't being built. Not delayed, not slightly behind schedule. Cancelled, stalled, or quietly walked back. Last video, I told you $500 billion has been poured into AI, and somebody is lying. They're not, but the truth is more interesting. Big tech is guiding to $650 billion of AI spending this year. The people who actually build data centers say roughly half of that announced pipeline won't break ground on time. And yet, Nvidia just guided $78 billion for a single quarter. So what's really happening? The demand is real. The money is real. What's breaking is the calendar. Here's the official story. Amazon, $200 billion this year. Google, up to 185. Microsoft, 145. Meta, 135. Added up, roughly $650 billion of AI spending in 2026 alone. Then, Nvidia dropped their numbers. $68 billion in one quarter, $216 billion for the year. They guided $78 billion for next quarter without counting China. That's not a company watching a bubble burst. That's a company watching a queue. OpenAI's Stargate, the $500 billion Texas build-out Trump announced, 15 months in, about 20 to 30 billion is actually in the ground, mostly at Abilene. That's not a lie. It's a 4-year number at month 15. The gap between the headline and the ground is the whole story. So why the gap? Sightline Climate found 16 gigawatts of data center capacity announced for 2026, but only 5 gigawatts under active construction. 30 to 50% of the announced pipeline won't materialize on schedule. Demand isn't the problem. Microsoft itself disclosed an $80 billion Azure backlog they literally cannot fulfill because the power isn't there. Power transformers, the giant metal boxes at every substation, used to take a few months to order. Today, 2 to 4 years. Wood Mackenzie's median is 128 weeks. Even if you have the transformer, you still need to plug in. The waiting line for new grid connections used to be under 2 years. Today, it's over 4. 1,400 gigawatts stuck in line. And then there are the communities. In Prince William County, Virginia, developers walked away from the $24.7 billion Digital Gateway project in April, the largest data center cancellation in U.S. history. 3 years ago, 69% of Virginia voters supported new data centers in their community. Today, it's 35%. But here's what the headlines miss. The industry is responding. In the last 24 months, big tech locked in over 10 gigawatts of nuclear power under long-term contracts, the biggest new nuclear commitment since the 1970s. Hitachi is pouring $457 million into the largest transformer plant in the country, opening in Virginia by 2028. Every major grid operator, PJM, CAISO, ERCOT, is rewriting its interconnection rules. The wall isn't permanent, it's just ahead of the response. So how hard can you push that wall? Ask Elon. xAI's Colossus 2 in Mississippi, 2 gigawatts, targeting 1 million GPUs, runs on 27 gas turbines installed without air permits. On April 14th, the NAACP filed a Federal Clean Air Act lawsuit. xAI is burning $1 billion a month. SpaceX acquired them in February. But the bigger story is what Musk did with chips. Last summer, Musk shut down Tesla's Dojo project. Not because chips didn't matter, because he was consolidating. Every AI chip effort across Tesla, xAI, and SpaceX is being folded into one silicon family called AI6. The same chip runs Tesla vehicles, Optimus, Musk's data centers, and SpaceX satellites. In March, Tesla, SpaceX, and xAI announced Terafab, a $25 billion fab in Austin, targeting 1 terawatt of AI compute per year. Intel joined as foundry partner. Tesla has never run a fab. Execution risk is real. But this isn't retreat. It's the biggest captive silicon bet outside of Apple, 40 to 60 times the scale of Dojo. If big tech can't fill the gap fast enough, who is? Meet the Neoclouds, CoreWeave, Nebius, Crusoe, Lambda, Nscale. 5 years ago, most of these companies barely existed. Today, they're roughly 17% of US AI infrastructure spending, heading toward 30%, and they're fast. Crusoe built the first 2 buildings at Stargate Abilene in 12 months, versus the industry's 3 to 4 year norm. When Microsoft needed another 900 megawatts at that campus, they didn't build it themselves, they rented from Crusoe. In total, Microsoft has committed over $60 billion to renting from Neoclouds. Why? Big Tech is already spending close to 100% of its free cash flow on AI Capex. Balance sheets are full. Someone had to take the next tranche of risk. The Neoclouds did. CoreWeave's backlog is $88 billion, signed, pre-sold, 3 times their 2026 Capex. Microsoft is 72% of revenue today, but the backlog is diversifying. Meta is 40%. OpenAI signed an $11.9 billion direct deal in March. The honest side, $21 billion in debt at 11% interest. If the Blackwell to Rubin transition crushes chip resale values, the financial structure gets tested. The better analogy isn't .com. It's the fiber companies of the 90s. Many went bankrupt. The fiber they laid powered every internet company that came after. The question isn't whether every Neocloud survives. It's whether the compute they build outlives them. 2 honest checks before we look at what's next. First, is this a bubble? KKR, one of the biggest infrastructure investors in the world, published Beyond the Bubble last November. They buy in this market, not just analyze it. Their argument, this isn't .com fiber. Back then, you could lay more cable. Today, you can't summon more grid, water, or permits. Scarcity becomes a moat. On the other side, Bain, the consulting firm, modeled an $800 billion gap between what AI Capex needs and the revenue it can plausibly generate by 2030. Both can be right. Near term, repacing and write-downs. Long term, the survivors own the build-out. Second, what about space? Data centers in orbit, unlimited solar, no communities to fight over water. On paper, it solves everything. The math doesn't add up yet, but things are moving fast. Last November, StarCloud put the first Nvidia H100 into orbit. HPE's computer on the space station has been running machine learning since 2024. China has 12 AI satellites operational, and SpaceX filed for a 1 million satellite orbital data center in January. Add it all up, and total orbital compute today is roughly a few server racks. That's it. Space isn't an escape hatch for the 2026 build-out. It's a next decade bet. 3 industry signals to watch by December, 1 each for the build-out, the commercialization, and the bubble question. First, the build-out. Big Tech promised 16 gigawatts online this year. Only 5 are under construction. Under 10 shipping by December means the power wall is real. Over 10 means the response is working faster than expected. Second, commercialization. OpenAI and Anthropic combined hit $55 billion in annualized revenue in April. Forecasters see $240 billion by December. Clearing just $100 billion means real money funding the capex, not vibes. Third, the bubble question. Watch 2 prices. H100 1-year rentals jumped 40% since October to $235 an hour. That's what compute costs. API prices from OpenAI and Anthropic keep falling. That's what the output sells for. If rentals hold and tokens stabilize, scarcity wins. If rentals crack and tokens keep falling, the bubble thesis earns a hearing. Remember those 3. I'll come back at year end. Here's the honest truth. AI isn't collapsing. It's repacing. Big Tech didn't lie about demand. They just told you the announced number, not the deliverable number. The money is going out the door. The concrete is getting poured, just not where, when, or by whom the headline said. Power was Wall 1. Chips are Wall 2. Money is Wall 3. Each one harder than the last. Subscribe so you see them.